What more attention can somebody like Mr. Peter Obi be looking for? He's been sought out all over the world. I believe he has a lot to contribute in terms of holding the leadership accountable and holding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu accountable, so that we don't go through this kind of international embarrassment that we're going through. He can come out and clear the air and tell us, I think it's good. Okay. And I would say that, my president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please reintroduce yourself to us so that we know who you are properly.
Okay. Anytime you just remember that phrase in the national anthem, the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, would you actually say that with over 2 decades of democracy and over 6 decades of being independent, how far would you say that the labor of our heroes past, is it actually in vain? Now we'll begin this conversation taking a quote from Robert Nesta Marley, who was a Jamaican singer, musician, and songwriter. He once said, "Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight." I'm sure you all remember that song. So let's move to our next one from Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who was an American lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist and political ethicist who employed non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule and to later inspire movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. He once said, "Silence becomes cowardice when occasion demands speaking out the whole truth and acting accordingly." Okay. My next one is from Albert Einstein, a German-born theoretical physicist, widely acknowledged to be one of the greatest and most influential physicists of all time. He once said, "If I were to remain silent, I'd be guilty of complicity." Absolutely spot on. My last one is from Martin Luther King Jr., American Baptist minister and activist, one of the most prominent leaders in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. He once said, "One has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws." And because I like that one, I'll take my last one. From John F. Kennedy, an American politician who served as the 35th president of the United States from 1961 until his assassination near the end of his 3rd year in office, once said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Absolutely spot on. Now let's see how this quote relates to what we will be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now this morning we will be looking at Labour Party and what exactly is happening with the party. Then we'll move straight to Endsars protest. 3 years on. What lessons have we learned? Have we moved on, or are we just coming together to have a memorial every year? What exactly is the situation? My guest on the show today is Dr. Paul Moses Ogidi, who is the convener of Free Nigeria Movement, and we will be having this conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, get your sit, get your cup of coffee or tea, or maybe just water works well for you, and just sit on with this conversation as I will kickstart after this timeout. Welcome again. I will be your host. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to our conversation for today. And my guest is Dr. Paul Moses Ogidi. He is the convener of Free Nigeria Movement. It is great to have you on the show today, sir.
Same here, as always.
Great. Okay, so now let's talk about Labour Party. What exactly is happening with Labour Party since after the 25th February 2023 elections? What has been happening with the party?
A lot has been going on, and especially with the upcoming off-season elections with Imo State, Bayelsa, Kogi, and the likes. The Labour Party is galvanizing, harnessing the advantages it has gathered, especially with the Obidient Movement, you know, to ensure that they win the elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hear you just talk about what they have been doing with regards to elections, off-season elections, but then I'm actually asking with regards to the internal wranglings happening in the party. Today you wake up to see one particular faction, another one coming out to call your presidential candidate out to come do some explanations with regards to his certificate. What is this all about?
I mean, it's expected when people feel aggrieved, they feel angered, they feel expectations not met. And of course, this is Nigeria right now, where you have to be strong in terms of your values to be able to uphold standards against the grain. People are really hungry, people are tired, people are disappointed, you know, and with that, you have to be really strong to be able to not bend, because especially with the society that has become largely very transactional, you know, so you can expect all kinds of things to happen. And this is why we must continue to stand strong and continue to build institutions, because I've said it home and abroad that we're still growing. A lot is happening with, whether it's the Labour Party, the PDP or the APC, we see all kinds of rancors everywhere, you know, so the Labour Party is not left out, and we're growing democratically as a people. So the things you see and hear, of course, is expected, like I said, because of course, the varying factors that has impacted on our democratic processes. So it's not out of place, but they're becoming stronger because it's out of these upheavals, out of this crisis, that fundamentally foundations are built. You know, so it's really, whatever you're hearing, it's not out of place. It's expected, actually.
So are you which faction do you belong? The Lamidia Papa faction or the Comrade Julius Aburi's faction? Where do you belong?
I'm more concerned. I belong to the Labour Party, you know, and we're not divided, like you rightly said. And I'm more concerned about the movement, you know, the Obidient Movement, as it were, which is the new Nigeria movement. Parties are largely vehicles, you know, and I know that shortly before I came in, somebody has harassed me over the fact that the presidential candidate, principal, Mr. Peter Obi, he was in ABGA, he went to PDP, and then he came to the Labour Party. And like I said again, just reiterating that as a country and as a nation, we are not there yet. We are building, you know, where, because the parties are almost devoid of ideology, if you get what I mean. If you go to developed nations in the US, where you talk about the Democrat and the Republican, or you talk about the UK, where people died there in the context of the word, you know, where it is because of what I believe. I believe in the guidelines, in the regulations of this party. This is where my father has been. This is where my grandfather has been. We believe in this, you know, we stand by it. We're not there yet as a nation, you know. And because of the things that have transpired with the 2023 presidential election, our country has become very much transactional as it is right now. So, yeah, I am always statutory. I'm still a card-carrying member, you know, of the party. And until we have a convention where, you know, we have new leaders emerged, there have been meetings and several meetings that have been going on internally, but these are not things to discuss on the national TV like this. And like I said, but I'm speaking to the narrative of parties not having ideology driven, because everybody in APC today came from PDP. Everybody, almost every, you know, loosely, you know, and, you know, so people just, but a time is coming as we continue to advance in our democratic processes that ideology, fundamentals, values, virtues would have been built where people will understand that I'm with this party, not because of the material things I gain, but because of what it's standing for. When we get there, we will fight internal things internally, you know, and we will not be having all these distractions with all the...
So you see it as distractions?
Oh yeah, it's just completely distractions coming, because I'm a believer in value system. I believe in standards. I'm not wishy-washy, and that's why I know that with what the Obidient Movement has done home and abroad, this is just the beginning of the ideology that would drive, our nation. And it's going to, even though it's a movement, we're housed in the Labour Party because of the presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi. It is not limited to the party. It's a movement. When we went out to protest and to do other things, the APC young people were there, the PDP were there, all the aggrieved people, because the movement is a statement to the nation, is a statement to the old order, But again, they followed a particular candidate. And so when Mr. Peter Obi moved to the Labour Party, it's almost like to galvanize around the Labour Party. But you can see now that the presidential election is over and now it's left for states, there are internal things that are being done, and until perfected, you're going to keep having this. So it's not out of place at all.
Okay, so I hear you taking a cue from where you landed. I also hear you talk about when you go to even though I hate to use the word advanced countries, but when you go outside, you have the Democratic Party, you have those we are Republican because we believe in their ideologies, and then you say that you are hoping that there will come a day when politicians don't have to keep shifting to other parties. I am staying here because of the ideology. I believe in that party. So I'm going to ask you personally, do you have would you have any thought to leave the Labour Party anytime soon? Because anyways, I don't know what the ideology that you have, but it could be because of you love the party or the particular candidate. So are we going to see Dr. Paul leaving Labour Party anytime soon because now you have distractions, like you called it? So are we waiting to see that coming?
In 2019, I ran for State House under the PDP. So like I said, the country is evolving. We're evolving. Essentially, we all moved to the Labour Party for one singular reason, Mr. Peter Obi. But because we have to work and ensure that, and I believe we have a very unique opportunity in this season in 2023, we've never seen any time in Nigeria's history where young people participated, the way they did. Women participated, mothers, all across board, and we've never had a time where even Nigerians in the diaspora took special interest in Nigeria's election like they did during this period. I am a believer that the Labour Party will get its act together. I'm going to play a critical role to ensuring that, that is done. I believe in hard work, and I'm going to ensure that that is done so that what is right to do in terms of politicking and in terms of upholding the values and the standard. If you can't fix the Labour Party, wherever party you go to, you're still going to have that problem. But while it's evolving, the possibilities are there, and when I mean possibilities of movement are there until when, things, so that I don't come here and then tomorrow is held against me. There's a possibility I could move, but like I said, we will do everything possible. Wherever there is truth, values, standards, and whether it's in the PDP or the APC, wherever, the people like vehicles. The reason why we're against the PDP and the APC today is for one singular reason, is the people that are there. Once you change the people, then it's a different thing altogether. So we would fight, we would ensure that the internal rancors, to the best of our ability, is resolved, so that with the awareness that has already been created, we can take advantage of it, harness it, use it, and move the nation forward.
Okay, Dr. Paul, I see it looks like you're talking like a politician. It means that with what you just said, it looks like you're going to leave anytime soon, but you don't want to say yes or no.
No, I'm not going to leave. That's what I'm saying, that I believe in I believe in hard work. I love the Labour Party for two reasons. I love the name Labour. When you talk about the labor of our heroes past, you talk about work. So I love it. And I've also gone through the template of the Constitution. It makes room for a lot of young people. I love that. I love, the way it's structured, even though there are lapses and gaps, And because it's also a party that is where we're housed with the Labour, the NLC and the TUC, there's a huge structure to be harnessed if the right things are done. For these two reasons, I want to stay with the Labour Party to ensure that we fix it so that we can use that to also fix the country. So I'm going nowhere.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions, and I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath. Okay. Now, talking about the rancors you have in the party, and then you say you are also going to try and to see that it is being resolved. First question is, what is your presidential candidate, Peter Obi, doing in that regard? Is he also in this round table to ensure that these two factions are being settled? Because a lot of people would say that looks like the one faction is being paid by the opposition party. So what exactly is he doing in that regard? That's one on the side. And then secondly, you've seen how much reactions have he's still trailing even up until now with regards to Peter Obi's press conference recently, where he asked the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu to come out and reintroduce himself to Nigerians. And I hear some people say that looks like he kept mum for a very long time, and all of a sudden he just decided to talk. Looks like he's just trying to scratch and see where can we just shake the table and then get some media what's the right word? I'm trying to manage my word, but according to a lot of people, it wasn't the right time and the right word. What are your thoughts in that regard? Did you see that coming?
Well, he is doing a lot, I believe. I was with him in Lagos just a few days ago. Mr. Peter Obi is not wishy-washy. He comes from a very, his values and standards are very deep, I can tell you that. And the peace that we enjoy today, even in the country, can be subscribed completely to him. If Mr. Peter Obi were to come out like other presidential candidates on the street of Abuja, for example, the nation will shut down, I can tell you that, because of the love and the following that he has.
But not everybody is an Obidient Movement.
I understand that, but I know what I'm saying. If you look at the 1 million marches that have happened across the country, never has it been seen. At least I know that I was with him in 20 states. I am the official compere of the movement, and all over the country, I can tell you, I know what happened in the states, In many of the states, it was completely locked, even in Lagos and other places. And I dare say he won Lagos, not because Igbo people voted for him, but Yoruba people voted for him. When you look at the context of how many people are there. So he has helped to break, he's broken so many stereotypes. And you need to give it to somebody like that who, when we were out there protesting, he was telling people to calm down. You need to respect where he's coming from as a person. And he has said it time and time again that his values is about Nigeria, not even for him as a person becoming president of Nigeria. We need fathers like that. We need people like that who are unshakable, And I can tell you that you should have a time to ask him those questions. I know he is doing a lot. He is the kind of person that, unlike other people, like I said, and people don't like to hear this, but he very down to earth. He will call you at, the first time he called me, I didn't even have his phone number. He calls people to encourage people, to talk to people. He is down to earth. He rides with us in the economy and all of that. When we're everywhere, this is who he is. And I believe that he's been reaching out to all these other people. But the one thing you'll not get money from Mr. Peter Obi. So you have to be yes, if you're expecting that he will do like other people where you go and shake and talk and then you won't get that. He's never given me anything. In any case, I've never done anything because of him. I'm doing it because of the new Nigeria. I've been on this path in the last 20 years. And it's important to let people know this. So for those that are looking for trouble, thinking that Mr. Peter Obi will call, he's not going to do that. He will reach out to you and tell you, don't do this, don't do that. Do this because you need to do it. Do this because you believe in it. Don't do it because somebody is paying you to do it. And so you would expect, this is part of what he is doing to ensure that the party is founded on value systems, not on transaction. And he said that over and over again,
And you don't see it as like people will say that's being stingy.
Nigeria, we need to get to the point where we are stingy to the things we need to be stingy about. And and this is contextual, because Mr. Peter Obi would rather put ₦1 billion into a project that will stir production, rather than just come and say, Annabelle, you know, you're looking good. Just that sharing of money that we do around, that takes us nowhere. You know, look at the value of our dollar today. Look at what is going on. The poverty, the hunger, people can barely eat. You know, we've never seen this kind of thing before in the history of this country. And so we need leaders who are dogged, who understand not just the political, but also understand the econometrics that will help us as a nation. I mean, I'm a PhD in environmental resource planning. I understand the stakes in terms of our natural resources, not to talk of the human capital. We have no business being where we are as a nation. And this is why in the last 12 months, I've spent money, giving my life. If I tell you some of the horrendous things we have to go through from Kaduna to Mina, to Jos, to Bauchi, to all of the places we have campaigned and spent personal money and all of that, because we believe in Nigeria. We truly believe in Nigeria. And maybe in the course of the interviews, I also say some things, because politics is over. This is development right now. And to hold this leadership accountable to delivering, you know, what he says he's going to do is part of the building block that is required for us to move forward. This is the backdrop from where Mr. Peter Obi is coming. So when he speaks, when he spoke, you know, the whole world cannot be where we are right now. You're looking at, we need to begin to talk about what the whole world sees Nigeria as a criminal nation, due to as a nation of forgers, because this happened right way there in the United States of America. In the courts there, it's a total embarrassment to us as a nation to even be discussing these kinds of things out of the shores of Nigeria. Number one, I don't even support the fact that we have to I believe in fighting at home and holding ourselves accountable, because at the end of the day, it's not President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is going through the embarrassment. Nurses in the UK, different people have been interrogated. Right now, the green passport is almost like a taboo when you travel. I just came back traveling. I can tell you it's not something good at all for us as a nation. So I'm going beyond party individuals to looking at the image of the nation and what we will suffer and what our children are going to suffer as a result of this. So when Mr. Peter Obi comes out to say, our president, reintroduce yourself to us as a people, he did the right thing. When you go through Wikipedia and they move from Bola Ahmed Tinubu to they added another name, I can't remember, Adekunle has been added. I mean, all kinds of things we're talking about. It's not good for us as a nation. And of course, as an elder state person, as a presidential candidate that he is, as an honorable Nigerian, you know, you can never get it right when it comes to politics. There are people that will sit here today and say, Dr. Mo, why are you talking like this? Why others like it, others don't like it, vis-a-vis. But you have to stand and be objective. I will do everything in my capacity to ensure that the regime of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu succeed, because it's 4 years of my life, not Buhari's regime or Bola Ahmed. It's my country. I would do, if in the next few weeks, if it's ratified by the Supreme Court, I will do everything to ensure that he succeeds. And if it's not ratified, then we will go the other way. These are the values that our young people must be built, the things and our narrative must be built on. And so I support and I commend Mr. Peter Obi for the press briefing that he gave. Whether it is for, he has broken the internet million times over, you know, in the course of the last 12 months. What more attention can somebody like Mr. Peter Obi be looking for? He's been sought out all over the world. I believe he has a lot to contribute in terms of holding the leadership accountable and holding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu accountable, so that we don't go through this kind of, you know, international embarrassment that we're going through. He can come out and clear the air and tell us, you know, I think it's good. Okay. And I would say that, my president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please reintroduce yourself to us so that we know who you are properly.
Okay, so because you talked about an interview that you gave, we'll talk about that later. But then I hear you say something about the labor of our heroes past. And then anytime you just remember that phrase in the national anthem, the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. Would you actually say that with over 2 decades of democracy and over 6 decades of being independent, how far would you say that the labor of our heroes past, is it actually in vain? Has it got into, would those heroes that we have been talking about, would they actually roll in their graves and say, oh, this was not actually what I worked to see?
I don't think so. In one part, I think we have done so well as a country. Sometimes when people speak, they do not have perspectives, especially where contextual, arguments, are concerned. I've been to close to 20 African countries. And so sometimes when we speak, we don't even understand the narrative. Rwanda, I've been to Rwanda a couple of times, helping out even after the genocide. Rwanda is just like the size of Abuja. I'm a geographer. Places like Liberia and other places, they are just like one state in Nigeria. When they talk so much about Ghana, Ghana is really like Nigeria 20 years ago, even in terms of its infrastructure and road and all of that. And it's just, it's not even the size of Lagos in terms of population. So Nigeria has done so much and so well. I know that the query is that we are not where we are supposed to be, given the advantage of our natural resources and the vast, opportunity of our human capital. We can be 10 times every city capital, every state capital can be like Dubai, given what we are gifted if we manage our resources very well. So when making this argument, we also need to balance it. And I remember saying a couple of days ago that when you look at where we call the developed nations, in quote, when you speak about America or UK, their founding fathers were all slave owners. To be a slave owner means that you're a criminal, And then when you come back home, when you speak about our founding fathers, talk about Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe, or Obafemi Awolowo. These people were saints. They are saints compared to the founding fathers of other nations, So we haven't appropriated. We haven't treated our founding fathers well. They did so well. These are people that you could call almost total strangers, but they came together to deliver for us a nation. It is still their spirit of resilience that is still running through us. Have we had crisis? Yes, we have had crisis, but to also have maintained 20-something years of democracy, it speaks to the value of what they've already done, what the founding fathers have done, what they continue to do. This is why we are where we are. They will look, and in one part they will laugh, and in the other part, they will turn in their grave, because we could be a lot better. But that's the story of Nigeria. And I'm saying this because it's important to balance out democracy in terms of what they've done, in terms of development and other things. We have moved forward comparably, but we can be because Nigeria can be superpower. We can be global power. And so that's where we will continue to hone in and hold the leaders accountable. But our heroes have done so much. They gave their life, they gave everything, and we can name them. A lot of them, right from the founding fathers to present day. Yes, they've done so much. They did their bit. We are not removed from that. And I'll say this to just cap up this question. When you consider the fact that we are 250 ethnic groups, we're 600 languages. The management of this diversity will come from deep ideology. We need leaders where this parochial divide, region, ethnicity, and religion hasn't done too well for us. We need leaders that when they show up, if I'm here right now and you're looking at me, and because my name is Dr. Moses Paul, all you see is a Christian, that's a problem. I have to speak in a narrative where you are seeing Nigeria. You're not seeing a Yoruba or an Igbo or a Hausa, a Muslim or a Christian. These are the things we will have to manage. So Nigeria can be complex where these divides are concerned. So when you look at that, we've done a lot, but there is so much more to be done.
All right, then. There's still more to unbundle from this conversation with Dr. Paul, and we will definitely get right into it. I will see you after this time out. Join us again.
I'll give you a very good example. I believe a young person should have been the campaign manager, for example.
Okay.
Yes. Rather than, I understand the fact that we had older people who are experienced. But I can tell you something. The Obidient Movement is an energy, is a, how do I put it, is a spirit, is a vibe. You can't, if you're old, you can't understand it.
Really?
Yes, you can understand it. And some of the setbacks that we had was because people, even though experienced, you can't lead an energy you don't understand.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. As my guest on the show today is Dr. Moses Paul Ogidi, who is the convener of Free Nigeria Movement. Okay, before we went on that break, we've actually talked about quite a number of things, but then, like I said, I will take some messages from, or just look into some of the last, I think it should be the last interview that you had. You said something, and quote, "They maim, kill, weave all kinds of lies and propaganda to intimidate and crush dissident voices, but doesn't democracy allow for rational disagreement on issues? Isn't it from these conversations that policies, causes and courses are chattered by nations?" So I will bring that question to you, Dr. Paul. If you look at the kind of arguments that came forth during the elections, especially coming from the Obidient Movement, you say one thing and then they are ready to hit on you immediately. Looks like everybody must just believe in the Obidient Movement, or everybody must just be from Labour Party, or just believe in Peter Obi. So I'm wondering, what kind of conversations do you have with your people, the movement, when you congregate them? Do you give them this message that I don't have to believe in what you believe in?
We talk about passion. We talk about institutions. We talk about doing the right thing. We talk about fighting the old order. We talk about holding strong to what Nigeria has never had before, that we see in the likes of Peter Obi. We talk about leaders getting into offices and doing what they need to do and leaving money behind, not grab, not being transactional. And so what you see, as described by Professor Wole Soyinka, fascism, I would agree, I would toe with his path. If you have to be narrow-minded to standing for the right thing, then it's something good. You know, the Obidient Movement will crush every evil and darkness that will come her way. It's a movement that stands for a brighter, a new Nigeria, devoid of corruption, nepotism, parochialism, anything that would divide us along the path of the things that have divided our fathers, religion, and all the like. So yes, we go at it like that because we have to, we've been gifted with the best times of life. We connect through Twitter, through Facebook, through everything to ensure that we haven't enjoyed the Nigeria that we heard about. And so, yes, 2023 posts that opportunity. When we meet, these are the things we talk about. We talk about allowing people to have their views, but not, and again, we're on national TV, not views that are condescending. And I give you a typical example. If somebody comes on national TV and say, it does not matter if you lose your certificate, just go and print another one. Do we want to destroy our country? Obedience will fight you. They will come at you. Should we not come at people? Obedience are against leaders who cannot stand on their feet, but they are demanding that they must be the one to be in office. We will fight you. If you call that fascism, then it is good. But we want it. Nigeria has more than half of our population young people. Look at them all over the world, and yet they don't stand a chance to be president at a time where people like Emmanuel Macron, way younger than myself, are president of developed nations, and we're here. You know, when are our fathers going to retire? When are they going to sit back and take coffee and allow us to move this nation forward? At a time when you have young people doing, great things, taking over. If we have the children of some of these people running for office, as presidents and governors, then that would be beautiful. Not in this time where globally young people are taking center stage, and we have our our fathers and grandfathers who should be retired, fighting to be, presidents and saying that it is their time. No, it is wrong. We will fight those mindsets, and we will continue to fight it until we get it right.
Okay, so you also said that surely it was a different Nigeria that went into elections of 25th February 2023 to elect a new president and members of the National Assembly. And then you went on to say that I say so because, I beg your pardon, said, I say so because the Nigeria I know and used to cannot just take his word for it. I'm sure you're referring to, okay, let me go ahead. It says, when credibility meant only the will of the masters. Okay, you're actually referring to the chairman or the INEC chairman, and where you quoted is what he stated, saying, our commitment remains only to Nigerians and not to any political party or candidate. So are you accusing the INEC chairman of complicity, or are you accusing him of being a particular political party loyalist and not being credible?
I've said it time and time again, and I'll repeat it. I protested for 23 days in the city of Abuja asking, I don't know how we still have Professor Yakub Mahmoud as the chairman of INEC in Nigeria. He told us here on national TV that he will keep to the tenets of the electoral laws, that was signed into law, the bills that were signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. He told the whole world, that we're going to follow the dictates of that. He also went to Chatham House and promised that. He didn't do that, and I'm still wondering how he's not sacked. In fact, he should be prosecuted. He should be in jail for doing what he did in Nigeria. People were burnt in Kano. People were shot in Rivers State. People were chased out of their polling booths in Lagos. It was a contraption. The beavers didn't work. Our hard-earned money, 400 billion, committed to this, and then you wake up and we're having lizards and women, being uploaded into our IREV and all kinds of things, and he's still there. No, we're accusing him of everything that he failed to do very clearly, and I'm repeating myself here. I don't know how in this country we can still have that same person, and you're expecting to have a fair, free, and credible election. It can only be insanity. We still demand for him to be sacked. We still demand for him to face the law for what he did to Nigerians. This is where we still are. The pain Nigerians are going through today is not about who emerged, but even much more the process. Garbage in, garbage out. Who is to be held responsible? The INEC chairman. He did exactly that.
Okay, so I'll take the last statement that you made during that election. He said, unquote, I think Mr. Peter Obi had no intentions to force the youthful energy in the campaign council into a tiny quantum eliminated from the decision table. I believe the weight of engagement during the campaign may have blurred his sight so poorly that he could not notice the absence of 18 to 35 years old who are majority members of his chair team, despite being in perpetual meetings with old people. And then you say, most young people in the PCC covered travel, accommodations, and feeding expenses from personal funds and were hardly reimbursed or considered during disbursement. I did this for over 95% of my trips, despite being the official MC of the campaign. The old people, however, took, in quote, good care of themselves. So, while we seated with passion and conviction, delivering all the results, the old people again are busy, like we say in Nigeria, cashing out. But the truth remains that while the majority was reported to the world as youth-led, the major strategies were the old people, lacking the requisite energy and vigor central to its idealistic trust. Who are these old people you are referring to, Dr. Paul?
The same old people in the party, some of them, not all of them,
Are you going to name names?
I will name names after I'm writing the testament of my resolve, and it's going to be bad, like we say in Nigeria, because Yes, I'm going to put names to that, and that is going to be out very soon. Let's allow the Supreme Court judgment to come, and then as time goes on, I'll probably return back here when that is out. It's going to come out in a book, yeah, because it's important for the younger people and generations to come to have, especially my perspective, because I played a very central part. I was in the Obi-Datti Campaign Council. I also played with the Labour Party. I was in the Big Tent. I was in the support group. I had done from the 1 million march that I coordinated here in Abuja, went to Lagos and other places. I've held ideation events and meetings, in the course of the last almost every month of the year. I've helped to shape the narrative of conversations. I was on ground in at least 20 states. So it's important for the world and even for research purpose, for people to hear and also see what happened in the Labour Party and in the campaign council, so that we can learn and strengthen. This is not, I'm not agitating, or I'm not casting aspersions, but I'm writing from an objective point of view, so that we can learn and grow and correct, so that we can really, because like I rightly said, that while I appreciate and honor the fact that we followed Mr. Peter Obi, he also has his blind sides too. For a movement that is nearly 90% young people, we should have young people playing critical roles. I'll give you a very good example. I believe a young person should have been the campaign manager, for example.
Okay.
Yes, rather than, I understand the fact that we had older people who are experienced, but I can tell you something. The Obidient Movement is an energy, is a, how do I put it, is a spirit, is a vibe. You can't, if you're old, you can't understand it.
Really?
Yes, you can understand it. And some of the setbacks that we had was because people, even though experienced, you can't lead an energy you don't understand. So it was important to have young people who are intellectuals and who understand the terrains, politically. I'm here. I have a PhD. I ran for office. I led the Endsars in Abuja. I'm grassroots. And we have many other people. The Obidient Movement, vis-a-vis the Labour Party and Obi-Datti Campaign Council, was gifted with critical young stakeholders who are more than capable to lead, and it's important to point this out. Not just for the Labour Party, but for all the other parties, because this is about Nigeria.
Okay, so because you talked about Endsars, let's divert a little bit and talk about Endsars. 3 years, we're celebrating 3 years of that protest. So would you actually say that we have learned our lessons? And because I saw a few weeks ago during the candle procession of the late Afrobeat crooner, that's Mohbad, I saw how it was looking as if some people were even scared, like, are we going into another Endsars again? And then some people said that, okay, I think another Endsars is trying to brew, because it looks like everyone is at the edge. They're just waiting, push me, and I will definitely blow up. So what lessons would you say that we have learned 3 years after?
Quite a number of lessons. What we saw, even with, when you say the Obidient Movement, is the energy of the Endsars, literally. And what will even happen after now with the new Nigeria movement, or whatever name or nomenclature it decides to warehouse, is something that began in 2017, exactly. With the Endsars actually started in 2017, but gained a lot of momentum in 2020. Especially with the news of one of the victims that was killed, and that's when it all went viral. And the demand for the disbandment of the special anti-robbery squad, as the Endsars went national and global. And from 2020, exactly a few days from here, the memorial at the Lekki toll gate, 2020, gained so much momentum. We one thing we have learned that is very strategic is the fact that it awoken young people all over the world, Nigerians all over the world, and especially in Nigeria. It also speaks to particularly the narrative of the energy. Young people now know that they can, because the Endsars were disbanded, you know, so yes, but it's mutated. We're now asking for good governance. We're now asking for infrastructure. We're now asking for a total reformation of the police force, you know. So it shows that we can make things happen. The young people can make things happen, which is why you saw how they galvanized around Mr. Peter Obi also. It's that same energy, you know. So one thing has been learned, and if harnessed, of course, Nigeria would, the young people can deliver the presidency. So,
but don't you think, sorry I have to butt in there,
yes.
Don't you think we've actually moved on? Do you think that those demands that were made by those protesters, what has been done? Because if you look at what happened during the Black Lives Matters, even during any sporting event, you still see people want to commemorate that event or still say Black Lives Matters. But here it looks like Endsars, we only remember it during when it is like the first year, the second year, the third year. Nobody talks about it after that day.
No, that's what I'm telling you. I'm giving you the night, because the Endsars is an energy. Okay, what you saw with the Endsars is what you're seeing with the Obidient Movement. It's the same. It's an energy to keep mutating and changing, and that's the power. Because what part of the challenge with the Endsars was like, okay, you know, we said there was no leadership, and so even some of the things that were supposed to be harnessed couldn't be harnessed, because we couldn't sit at table with the government to demand. We say we don't just want you anymore. But then here is 2023 general election, and we say, okay, we found a channel to move in the energy, which is what you saw with, you know, with the movement. Okay, now going forward, there will be a lot of advocacy. The young people, and I would say even with a lot of the appointments you're seeing with the young people, is coming from that narrative. You know, it can be gradual, but it's coming from that narrative, whether or not validated, you know, in terms of the legality of this present regime, since the Supreme Court is coming. But you can see, and I can tell you one thing, even in the past few weeks and months, anytime, look at the appointment of the youth, what's it called, ministry, you know, when the young people woke up and screamed, what happened? It shows these are lessons, these are milestones to say that we have come of age. All they need to do is just to hold in there and ensure that they complete the job that they started, you know. And one of the things that is still in process is the fact that the young people are not completely in one goal, assembled under one ideology yet. So you can see with what happened with the Mohbad, okay, and then you can see in part there is that. So we are not in one bag, as you put it. The day we get into one bag, then from that bag, you achieve infrastructure, you achieve political something, you ensure Mohbad and the likes in terms of the music genre and culture get, and hospital, we will just begin to move and get things done. And that is the next phase of this.
Okay.
A lot of meetings have been held. I've been holding a lot of meetings with the young people under the guise of Younger, the Free Nigeria movement. So we are harnessing different energies, and we're saying we will not just agitate anymore. What you see a lot of times is agitation, but we're saying that we have to be wiser. We must go into what? Advocacy. We must begin to advocate and tailor the energy. Beyond advocacy, we will have to mobilize. And beyond mobilization, it's important to organize, because until we can organize, we can't call to action. So we are in a process, and all began with the Endsars movement.
So I hear you talk about the appointments that you even talked about the Ministry of Youth and all. Would you then say that these have been like a compensation? At least they've gotten a compensation for all that they demanded for. Is this a way to say that at least there have been justice, or justice have been served, especially to those who lost their lives and properties during that protest? The case, of course, we saw it was televised and all of that in Lagos. They went through it, but of course it didn't even end well. That's why we're still talking about it now. No, it's far from compensation. We're just talking about the fact that the young people now know that if they back
The old order understand that we can stop them. The young people are now more than aware. Once we are agreed, it is impossible anything we decide to do. This is the lesson that we have learned. With what is happening with the appointment, the only thing that will be a justice will only be served when the person we want as president becomes president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Who's the person you want as president? A
young person that has capacity, that has competence, that understands what needs to be done in 21st century Nigeria.
Even when some of the young people that are working with you will still prefer and say, okay, let's have the older generations because they have the experience.
It is transactional. There's still hunger in the land. That's the point I'm saying. You know, when you have deprivation, when you weaponize poverty, then of course you would have, as we sit here today, there are young people who are kidnapping people right now in Nigeria. Last 2 weeks, a friend who came in here, Oruz was released. 4 years ago, I went into the bush myself to deliver 10 million and bring people who were kidnapped outside. Going to Kaduna, the bushes, we still have, as we're speaking right now, there are people in the bush. Between Kogi State and Edo, there are people in the bush. Who are doing that? Young people between 18 and 35. I have interfaced with the bandits and the terrorists. This is how dangerous. And that's why I'm telling you that the people that can overcome these ills are still the people within that age bracket. And until they take their place in government, in the justice system, in police, in INEC, until they get into all the sectors of the country, justice is far from being served.
All right, even as we begin to round off, so I know that you have always been at the forefront with regards to protest. You're the convener of the Free Nigeria movement, and I know that even when during University of Abuja days, you had the protest on all. So it looks like when you sneeze, all the youth want to catch cold and then say, okay, we are coming together, we are going behind Dr. Mo. So what exactly do you see when we're looking at the future, 2027, 2031? What exactly do you see with regards to where Nigeria is moving to? Because I recall that you said in that interview, you said the young youth, your mother-in-law, I beg your pardon, that you talked about her appetite for Nigeria, saying that she was even looking forward to a greater Nigeria. So looking forward to 2027 and 2031, if this the Supreme Court still stays their judgment, what do you see when you look forward to?
Because I've traveled around the world, because I understand the energy of the young people, because I understand how versatile, how incredible, how unwavering the Nigerian spirit is, because I know both home and abroad what is possible, I'm looking forward to a Nigeria where our diversity can be harnessed and properly managed, you know, because there's 600 voices and languages that exist here. There's 250 ethnicity. When you talk about food, for example, or dance, or music, or whatever it is that our culture hold, you're saying you're multiplying each of these variables by what? By 600. That's how powerful we are as a people. You know, I'm looking forward to, like I said earlier, in Nigeria, where when we speak, you don't see Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba on the national front. You're not seeing Igala, Idoma, Tiv, Birom, or any of the languages that exist. You are seeing a Nigeria. When people talk, you are not seeing Muslims or Christians. You are seeing a Nigeria. And there are Nigerians all over the world, you know, from UK to US to France to all the African countries. There are Nigeria all over. Because of this wealth of burden of responsibility that exists, because I know that until Nigeria stands up, Africa is not going anywhere, because I know that the day that a Nigerian becomes a viable Nigeria, becomes the president of our country, that the whole world can look at in terms of the ability to express and articulate our problem and also attend to them, the day that we have our dream come true, that every black man on the face of the earth can now stand up, you know, with their shoulders high. Because I know that I will continue to work and pray tirelessly to ensure that we have people of value Nigerians across board. We must organize and mobilize ourselves to ensure that we have a president, maybe in 2027 or 31, like you said, that will significantly epitomize this dream and aspiration. Because the day we get there, in probably 10 years, Nigeria can be world power. I will never stop working. I will never stop speaking. I will never stop ensuring that we break the barriers of region, religion, and ethnicity to harness this regional power that we have, you know, and get Nigeria to where it's supposed to be.
Okay, so in 1 minute, tell us about Free Nigeria Movement and what they're cooking in the next few days, weeks, months. Tell us about you.
The Free Nigeria Movement is a movement of young people that cuts across party lines, religious lines, different ethnicity, you know, who are bounded by the ideology of free Nigeria, you know, young people who believe in the ideals. And when I say the ideals, they believe in inclusion. They believe in democracy. They believe in accountability. They believe in the value of public leadership. They're completely fearless. They understand what they're supposed to do and be. And that's why we came together for 70 days shortly after the 23 presidential election. We were on the street for 23 days, and then we went online and we continued to agitate. You know, we were asking for a cancellation of the general election. We're asking that Professor Mahmoud be sacked. And very importantly, we're also asking for a reconciliatory committee, which is something that I'm following up with wherever administration comes up to ensure that people who were killed, people who were injured, people who were what's the word now, when marginalized during the elections, you know, segregated against, you know, those who were told that if you don't belong to this party, do not vote in this place, you know, people are compensated, because you don't want to...
What kind of compensation are you looking for? Financial?
You need to compensate families of people who were killed. They need to be taken care of. There were mothers, because you have plunged some people into deep poverty. There are fathers that were killed during the elections. Whether you call it, whatever it is that you call it, in many parlance, these are people that will be given a job. There are people who will be, you know, caught into one place or the other. This is how we take care of people, you know, and what that does is that it reassures them of the value of Nigeria. These are Nigerians, for goodness sake, you know. This is where we begin to build patriotism in people, regardless of the party of their belief system. These people need to be compensated, you know. If people that were there was a lady that was her eyes were, you know, and all those kind of people, their bills should be paid. If that happens, you know what message you're sending to Nigerians. You're saying that Nigeria owes you, recognizes you, and you are deserving of fighting for Nigeria again, so that we don't begin to see voter apathy when 2027 comes. This is some of the things you're going to be expecting from the Free Nigeria Movement.
Okay.
We're sitting with the UN, with the EU, with the government to ensuring that these things are done, and many more, and of course, including protests.
Including protests. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Paul Moses. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you. What a fine place to end the conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's where we end this conversation. We have been chatting with Dr. Paul Moses Ogidi, who is the convener of Free Nigeria Movement, and it's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. I will see you next time. Keep watching The Conversation, because you never know who my next guest will be or what I will be speaking of next. Till I come your way again from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours. God bless Nigeria.